I was really expecting Life of Brian zaniness. He's not the Messiah who's a very naughty boy. He's a very naughty boy trying to be the Messiah.
Hi, I'm Teresa. Welcome to our weekend show of Cocooncast, where we deep dive into movies and discuss all things cinema.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we'll be discussing the new movie, The Book of Clarence.
And we have some shocking Hollywood news.
Guess who got shut out of the animation industry's Oscars?
Ooh, you're not telling.
I'm not spoiling. Watch the segment.
Let's get started.
Clarence has always wanted to have a better life for his family, but wild chariot races and black market hustling have only landed him further in trouble with Jedediah the Terrible. Seeing the popularity of the latest messianic wannabe, he and his best friend Elijah capitalize on the faith and funds by becoming the Messiah the people need. But as Clarence's popularity grows, he starts to ask himself, when does faith stop becoming an act and turn into something real?
Rebecca, we have been seeing trailers for this kind of on and off for, a couple months? Maybe a little bit more?
Yeah, the publicity really ramped up a few months ago.
Oh, yeah, right, because they're getting ready to release it. It was an interesting movie. The genre is a biblical comedy.
Knowledge is stronger than belief.
Drama.
In spite of your selfish ways, there is a beautiful soul in there somewhere.
But not a musical.
I am your new Messiah. Blasphemous swine! Stop that!
Not to be confused with the musical. There are a lot of names on the soundtrack that our viewers may recognize, though.
Oh, yeah. Producers, actors. But it was trying to cover a lot.
This cast is stacked. I was really excited to see it, especially considering another film we'd kind of seen in almost the same vein of humor, Hunt for Jesus, Save Your Soul.
Oh, yeah. It did. And the trailers were focusing on the funny and honestly kind of downplayed some of the actors. Meaning when we started to unpack, we're like, oh, wait a minute. We know him. Oh, and him. But I didn't quite catch that. It felt like the trailers and a little bit, and I was trying not to spoil it ahead of time. But I was thinking, hey, this is going to be a comedy.
I was really expecting Life of Brian zaniness. He's not the Messiah who's a very naughty boy. He's a very naughty boy trying to be the Messiah.
I want to be like that in 10 years.
I want to be like that now.
Literally, he's trying to be... The premise, obviously, if you're religious, it could feel a little sacrilegious because the Book of Clarence does not find itself in the Holy Scriptures. At least not the versions that I've been familiar with.
And not to be mistaken with the Book of Enoch or any other.
Yeah, no, right? But it was interesting because it had parts that were funny.
Yes.
And satirical, and we had just reviewed American Fiction really recently. But it wasn't only funny. It was like little pockets of funny. And then there was a love story.
Yes, there was a love story about someone trying to prove themselves to the person they love and their community.
But wait, there's more. And I laugh because when they're talking about biblical, it wasn't biblical proportions. It was back in the day. This literally, Clarence is living in the day of Jesus. He got to know Jesus.
33 AD, Clarence shows up.
Correct. And and the drama part, I laugh because there was a lot of drama to this movie.
The drama, I felt, really grounded the movie. The comedy was funny. The musical bits were funny. The problem is, the movie had so many lanes to go through, and it picked them all.
At the same time, honestly. It went here and went here. It really felt like it didn't know where to go.
You know the popular phrase, yes and, in improv groups? I felt like this movie is the living embodiment of yes and.
I would agree with that. And I was surprised because it was well written. It just wasn't well pieced together. And had it been only a comedy, whether it was kind of the biting satire or whether it was the ironic piece, obviously they were poking fun at a lot of the biblical references. Didn't feel overly offensive or obnoxious. It just was like, oh, that's kind of funnier. There's one part where Clarence is grappling with what's true and what's not true and about Jesus. And I remember he went to see Mary and Joseph, Jesus' parents, and he sits down with them because he thinks that these are tricks. And you remember what he said? He sat with them and was talking with them.
I think he says something to the effect of, so that's the story you're going with.
Which was actually kind of funny. And there were parts around that were funny when he was talking with John the Baptist about baptizing him, and they were kind of getting at it, and John the Baptist wasn't, this free-loving guy with, the little fur and the whole, I'm here to baptize you. He was a little bit rougher. His twin brother, Thomas, one of the apostles, not exactly the friendliest of guys.
I definitely liked the comedy. It felt very much like a Taika Waititi film in some ways, too.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Especially the comments. You mentioned John the Baptist. I immediately thought of Next Goal Wins with their prayers.
Bless the white guy you brought us.
Dear Lord, thank you for sending us Mr. Ongen. We've become quite attached to him. It's like finding a little lost white kid at the mall and telling him which way to go.
It was, the comedy was funny.
But every once in a while, they'd bring up these random moments that wouldn't pay off in the film. At one point, Clarence goes, your eyes are like sapphires and mine are so red. And I'm like, okay, this has got to pay off somewhere at some point. The only thing I could remotely see in this is the death of some character. But that's it.
And that was a stretch.
Again. Yes, and.
No, and it was hard because the dramatic places and the dramatic pieces were played well. Like we said, the acting was good, the casting was good. It wasn't as if great line, poorly delivered. It was, pretty good line, pretty well delivered. Okay, good. But then it was like, there was just missing. It was just like, no, how did that tie in? Wait. It had so many ideas.
I think this movie is a bit of a mess, and it's an uneven mess, but it's a journey I enjoyed taking because I appreciate that they had the guts to go there.
We'll unpack that a little bit for our cinema community, meaning they went there. Where did they go that you were like, I want to go there? Because you said, even though it was kind of the bless this mess kind of a movie, you were like, hey, I'm up for it. I want to go there. Tell our cinema community about that.
My attention never flagged when I was watching this movie.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's pretty good.
My attention never flagged because the characters were so committed. The actors were so committed. Everything was in focus when you decided to go to a specific lane. So I was very happy to wander along. Then it would switch about halfway through and I'm like, take me a few minutes. Okay, we're going here. All right, I'm on the journey.
The movie, I think, could have transitioned a little bit better because there were 3 books of Clarence. I'm laughing. If you haven't seen the movie, you're like, this makes no sense. But, part 1, part 2, part 3. And I think had it been, part 1 was funny. Part 2 was more serious. Part 3 was, let's talk about, the biblical story in it. Although I wouldn't call it a religious movie, which is funny.
Would you call it a sacrilegious movie?
It wasn't overly offensive to me, honestly. And I understand there were some parts that clearly, it's like that didn't happen that way. No, there was this one scene where they were trying to recreate the Last Supper. And that was a whole other story. But it was funny. It felt like it had a nice spirit to it. It wasn't like, hey, let's just bash things that people hold sacred.
That's one of the things I want to point out. This movie's perspective of Jesus is really respectful. Jesus is not the butt of the joke. It's things happening around him.
And honestly, Clarence was changed by his relationship with Jesus, which is quite sweet if you think about it, right? Because if you've had that religious experience, that is the experience that people talk about. It's like, I have changed. And there were parts of it which I appreciated. It wasn't an instant transformation. It was gradual when he is, talking to the gladiators and when he's, talking about these men that have been enslaved. There was a part toward the end, the cinematography really captured it really well, but it was a part where you didn't know what was going to happen with Clarence. And to me, there was some quality suspense around it. You don't know what he's going to think, what he's going to believe, how he's going to, either get out of situations or get stuck in them. And I really liked it. I'm trying not to spoil it. I'm intentionally being cagey.
I know what scene you're talking about. The tension is palpable with
It
this.
is. And the acting is so good around that. And I appreciated that. but then it carried the second half of the film. And the choices and decisions and things that had happened after the fact, I appreciated.
I just think that sometimes a little bit more flow goes a long way with these kinds of movies.
Talk more about that, meaning it would feel heavy-handed if it was a little bit too much, or...
I think so, but I think there's, like you talked about, the organic transitions. The kind of building up, it just immediately flips.
The thing I did really appreciate about it, though, is we've talked about it multiple times on Cocoon Cast, where they kind of pull you close and then they slap you upside the head and go, you must get this. It did not feel heavy-handed in that to me. And especially when you're talking about a movie of biblical proportions, right? When you're talking about religious things or even, comedy and drama, it could be very insulting.
I can see that, definitely. I did like the fact that they weren't like slap, slap, like Poor Things was.
Correct. That felt too heavy.
But I feel like there could have been more of a defined environment where these pieces kind of come together and then diverge.
Do we have any questions from the box?
Music can be important in a movie, as we've discussed in previous reviews. How was the music in this movie?
I want to say it was better than it was, but honestly, the music I felt distracted me at some points. At some points, I was just listening for the music. I wasn't listening for the dialogue. And whoever did the audio mixing for this, there are points where I couldn't hear the people talking.
That is true. It was louder, noticeably louder. In some movies, the music takes a backseat. I know John Williams, a lot of Steven Spielberg movies, there's music throughout, but it's not distracting. It was almost as if here's the movie, and then somebody took the music and went, turned it up too loud. And it was all of a sudden, it wasn't like it flows. It was like, oh, hold on, I'm noticing the music and I'm forgetting where I'm at. And some of the lyrics were distracting to me. I don't think they added completely, but there were several different styles of music, which I actually thought was interesting.
It's definitely very cohesive. Would be interesting to see if somebody turns this into a musical.
Oh, I could see it happening. Do we have any other questions from the box?
Let's talk about the acting. Were there any standout performances in your opinion?
I really liked R.J. Kyler. To me, he's the ultimate scene stealer in this movie. And considering you're working with Lakeith Stanfield, who in my mind is one of the best modern actors working today,
yes,
it's a pretty tall order.
I liked his character, but more than his character, like you said, I liked his performance. I like the relationship, right? He's Clarence's best friend. And Lakeith, we've seen him in multiple movies, right? Selma, he's been in Sorry to Bother You. I mean, he's been in movies that we like. And it was just a very genuine, he's my best friend relationship. And I laugh because Lakeith also played, right, his twin brother, the disciple Thomas. So clearly he's pretty versatile in all of this. But to me, he was the standout.
Definitely would love to see him get some nominations next year for this one.
I would agree with that. Rebecca, it is that time of the show where we have 5 moths. 5 moths. What do you think? 1 to 5?
I'm going to shut the book on 2 of them today. This is a 3 moth movie for me.
Okay. Number 1 reason for a 3.
I felt like this movie was not only uneven, it just didn't commit to the bit enough. This movie is rated PG-13. I think it could have been more successful as an R-rated movie if they would have just went for it.
Wow. And went for it in the comedy or...
Honestly, everything. I think specifically the comedy... I think would have balanced some of the more dramatic scenes about. I think the music could have added a little bit more oomph and given the story more of a modern edge.
My moth rating, 1 to 5, singing, dancing, biblical moths. I would also agree with you on a 3. It had a lot of really interesting ideas, as you were saying. However, because it was so split, it's almost like I can't say who would like this movie clearly. I would say, well, if you want some good comedy, oh, we've got that. Well, there's some drama. Oh, and there's some biblical, humor around that. But it's uneven in that respect too, because there's even, some drug use, a lot of violence, which kind of surprised me, understanding that this is part of the story. But to me, to really love it, I think the cohesion needed to be there. It was a bit long. It was 129 minutes. And to me, it could have been shorter and told the story a little bit better. And I do agree with you around the music part. It distracted from it. The other reality is, for me to rate it higher, I would want to say I highly recommend it and I would love to see it again. I don't know that I would love to see it again, although there were a few scenes that were memorable and did make me chuckle.
I think this is going to be a cult classic movie. I could easily see this falling into that camp.
Absolutely. And I would definitely love to see more from the director. I would love to see more of the actors and actresses we liked. So that definitely wouldn't keep me from wanting to see it. And I laughed when you said the musical because honestly, this may make a hilarious musical.
If you enjoyed this review on the Book of Clarence, please like, which helps more viewers find our cinema community, and subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming reviews, and please share with your friends.
Rebecca, it is that time of the show to talk about who we are not sponsored by.
Who are we not sponsored by today?
You are just too excited about this no sponsoring. You know, when we actually get sponsored, you'll be like, oh my gosh, we're sponsored. Okay, this week we are not sponsored by Ancient Greek Sandals.
Oh, wait, wrong sandal.
Yeah, no, those are not ancient, those are not Greek, and I think those actually come from Keene.
They do. They're quite comfy.
Quite comfy. Ancient Greek Sandals. Why do you think we tried to contact them?
Come on, it's the Book of Clarence. Ancient stuff, ancient sandals, a lot of sand. Boom.
Walk right into it. You
Literally.
would think they were like, oh my gosh, they're doing the Book of Clarence. Ancient Greek Sandals, also known as AGS, said, no. However, they are quite interesting. Do you know about this company? I think you do, actually.
I do. I remember sending you many links over the years asking for a pair for Christmas.
And yet you end up with Keen's.
Still comfy, still cozy, still cute.
But they're not ancient and they're not Greek, and they are ancient Greek sandals. So what's the question you have? Are they made in
Greece?
And guess what?
They are?
They are.
Ooh.
They literally are.
Who knew?
Who knew? And they use ancient techniques that they have used for years and years and years and years. And they're made by skilled craftsmen. They don't say craftspeople, so I guess there are a bunch of dudes over there kind of going. They have all kinds of fancy techniques they do. They decorate. They have lacing. They cut out. They print. They braid. They bead. And they emboss.
Ooh, wow. Fit that on a t-shirt.
I think it's quite fascinating. And, you know, they have the little wing design. Have you seen the wing design?
Yes, that's the one I sent you, I think.
Okay, that's their whole little logo. But they're fascinating. They have multiple products. They have products for women, as you can imagine. They even have these bright colored kind of, they're made of the jellies. You remember the jellies back in the day? Yeah, they're the bright colored one, but everything else is, pretty traditional, a lot of Greek names that you can't pronounce. And then all of a sudden you're going down there and all of a sudden the Grace Kelly sandals. And I'm like, oh, a name I know. Interesting. But, prices aren't too bad. They have a men's collection and the bags. Have you heard of the bags that they offer?
This I haven't heard of.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So they have two different kinds of bag. They have the clotho bags, literally. That's what they're called. In little clutches, different colors and all of that. And then they have the shoulder bags.
Perfect when you're running that marathon, right?
Yeah. Well, and they're actually kind of pretty. They're kind of the woven. I was laughing. They almost felt like a little rug.
They look like a rug, like
kind of. They're kind of the fabricy, kind of like the rag rugs back in the day.
Oh, okay, yeah, that throws me back.
Yeah, I was
Jelly
just saying the
sandals
look
and
in your
rag
face.
rugs.
You go, ugh.
No, I had to think about that when I remember many home decorating catalogs. For
Yeah,
those.
they're not too bad looking. They're on sale right now. I'm thinking, hey. But my favorite part is you go on the website and you're like, okay, they come from Greece. They ship to the U.S. No charge to you.
Wow. Already included in the price, eh?
I think it's pretty cool. Guaranteed for 6 months. The story is Christina Martini. She was raised in Greece, went to school. She actually has a bachelor's degree in, catch this, footwear design and product development.
That's a pretty interesting degree.
I didn't even know it existed. I'm always laughing about, the underwater basket weaving, but apparently you can actually get a BA in footwear design.
Maybe we should check out that extended course for the underwater basket weaving.
I just cracked up. So she's pretty good. And then her partner and co-founder Nicolas Mingelo.
Hold on.
Guess where he was raised?
Where was he raised?
Well, he's born in London, but he was raised in Greece. With that name,
Oh, of
does that
course.
sound kind of
Very Grecian.
Yeah, right. He actually has an MBA, but it doesn't say that it's in foot design and all that. I think it the MBA is a business degree.
I remember you mentioning in the studio before we started taping, you said that Christina worked at Balenciaga.
She did, and you know that company.
I do. Balenciaga!
And Louis Vuitton, too.
Yes, I know them.
It was interesting. You go to their website, you're like, I want Grecian sandals. But they actually have more. If you go to their website, it's interesting. They have cooking with AGS. Literally, there's recipes. They have retreat with us, which is, hey, come to this place. Here's where to stay. Here's what to expect. Here's what to do. Literally, it's like this little...
Is this the Greek Tourism Board, a sandal website?
I think it's hilarious. And they actually have even more. They have how to style your sandals, because they're assuming you're buying their sandals and they want to show you what to do. You'll appreciate this, they even have a playlist of songs.
All right, that's what I'm going to check out after the show.
I laugh. No, literally, they do.
Do they have like shoe-related songs? Is it just...
Oh, it's a selection of songs. If you are fascinated, if you are interested, go to AGS, although, guess what?
Still didn't sponsor us.
Still didn't sponsor us. Thanks so much for not sponsoring AGS.
It's the time in the show where we want to hear from you. We love seeing your comments on our videos, especially if your rating of the movie and why. Now let's talk about some of the cool comments we've been getting. Teresa?
First up, we have a comment from JJW77, commented on our review of Saltburn. You realize it's been 7 weeks since Saltburn came out. Nice. Still getting some notice and some love from our cinema community. Great review and discussion. Oh, wow. 3 exclamation points. Wow. Well, JJW77, looks like catching up on our reviews. Welcome to the cinema community. We're glad to have you.
Next up, we have the Milkman4769, who commented on a review of Poor Things. Here's what they had to say. I like this movie too. William Dafoe was absolutely fantastic. William Dafoe is like one of my favorite character actors because he knows how to play to his audience. He saves his wackiest for the indie directors, and we're so graciously rewarded every single time.
Finally, we have Melavive28, who commented on our 60-second review of Anyone But You. Here's what they had to say. Ooh, I like the new format.
For those of you who haven't seen some of our shorts, we're trying a new format out. There's some movies where we're just not going to do a deep dive. Instead, we're just going to do a 60-second review to kind of let you know, hey, should you see it? Should you not?
Absolutely. And just came out, just introduced. Melavive is right in the zone.
We've got a couple other films in there, including Origin, so definitely check out that corner of the internet.
Absolutely. And now it's time for some Hollywood news. Rebecca, what's going on out there?
There's been a shutout, and it's not who you'd have expected.
Ooh. Tell me what you're reading and where and who and what.
Joey Nolfi from Entertainment Weekly brought up the fact that Disney and Pixar have both been shut out of the Annie Awards for the first time in the same year.
Wow. That is, when you think about that, is wild.
It's wild because, for those in our cinema community who may not know, the Annie Awards are basically like the animation industry's equivalent of the Oscars. If you're shut out of that, it sends a signal to the rest of the industry that you may not be so untouchable.
It's interesting because you're talking about shut out, not, oh, they didn't win. They weren't even nominated.
Nope. Elemental and Wish. Nope.
Wow. Yeah, back to the nope. That's interesting because you're right. It is serious. But for the Golden Globes that recently happened, they were nominated. Both of them.
Both were nominated.
But they didn't win.
This is also intensely huge because the Annie Awards literally have this requirement that you have to watch the feature films in full length.
Oh, okay.
And they have a secure website to do this. That way, when the award wins, it's guaranteed that everybody knew what it was nominated for and voted accordingly.
I'm surprised because you were saying the untouchable, and it does feel like historically Disney has been very untouchable. And obviously, Pixar's a fan favorite for a lot of people.
I mean, if Pixar isn't nominated, it's usually Disney. If Disney isn't nominated, Pixar's usually in there. And I've seen it years where they've both been nominated.
Mm-hmm. We saw Wish. We reviewed it on CuckooCast. Not overly enamored by it.
No, and this is huge because this is Disney's 100th year project.
Yes. That's
this is
a great point.
Landmark film for their studio. And to see the rest of the animation industry go, meh.
It's one thing for us to say, but for their peers, for the people that are critiquing them on a different level, obviously a much higher level than what we would do. They see things we don't. They know things we don't. So top secret. They can't tell us or they'll kill us. But it's interesting to me that they're the ones saying no.
This is huge. And it also speaks to the growing diversity that's coming out of the animation landscape.
That's a good point. And The Boy and the Heron we did see, and we did give that a very high rating.
That won the Golden Globe this year.
That, and rightly so. To me, if I were to compare, there is no comparison. The Boy and the Heron clearly was the better of the three movies.
I've seen almost every film that was nominated in that category this year, except for Elemental.
Okay.
Those films are miles better than Wish.
I would agree with that. And I'm thinking, but Elemental, I believe, was before Cocoon Cast had been launched or very shortly after. Normally, we love Pixar, run to the theater essentially as soon as something's released, but the last few movies have been less than exciting to me.
The concepts are interesting. You can really see where they were trying to go, but there's something about them, and I think it's just, it doesn't feel like there's enough oomph behind it. A lot of these films that I'm seeing from these two big studios now feel like better short films.
That's an interesting piece because historically, as you've said, it just says, right, you can't rely on your history. And the heart, and we talk about that a lot with the movies we see, is where's the heart? Not where's the content, but where's the heart? Where's the connection point? And if it's lacking that, and The Boy and the Heron definitely had the heart as well as the talent. It's not, it had heart, but it wasn't so great in the animation department. It was excellent all the way through.
I was really happily surprised to see you latched onto a Miyazaki film so quickly, especially considering at the time of the review, this was the only complete screening of a Miyazaki film you'd seen. I'd shown you clips over the years.
That's correct.
And I'd shown you certain other portions, like little featurettes behind the scenes to explain how they're doing certain things. But I was just immediately just delighted that you fell in love with it. And you didn't have to fall in love with it.
No, and I think that's the part where when we talk about other reviews is what if I haven't seen the previous movies, or what if I don't know the studio or the director? However, it says something that I don't have to have seen everything and can still, like you said, fall in love with it, appreciate it, and really say, absolutely, I believe that they deserve the awards they're receiving. Do we have any questions from the box?
In the public view, Disney and Pixar have been getting a lot of criticism for the directions they're going. Now that their peers who understand the difficulties and the challenges of doing animation are also not nominating them, do you think this legitimizes the criticisms that are happening?
There's some criticisms that are being leveled at these two companies that I simply don't agree with. The criticism I see from the animation peers, to me, speaking to a greater issue behind the scenes creatively than what we as a public may be seeing. I think it creates a new field of criticism, honestly, for these two companies.
Truly, I don't know what goes into the depth of the animation. However, I think there's a part where, even though, like you were saying, the criticisms may be different from the public versus the critique of the actual, medium and the details, I think it's I think any company is wise to listen to the criticism, whether they change it or not. Right, that's up to them. They know what they want to do and what they don't want to do. But I think if it's a different level of criticism, it's worth paying attention to. Whether it's us as the public to kind of go, let's notice that. But as a company, it's not, let's just notice it and ignore it. It's, is there validity to it? And can we be a better company, produce a better product by accepting that? Rebecca, what else is going on out there?
Not to be outdone with the Star Wars news, Paramount has announced that there's going to be 2 new Star Trek films. We have an original prequel set way, way, way before the original series, but we also have confirmation that J.J. Abrams is still working with the Kelvinverse with Star Trek 4.
J.J. Abrams.
I know you like him.
I do. And you're hearing this from?
Deadline, and not Anthony D'Alessandro this time. Justin Kroll. No word on whether he's related to Nick Kroll.
Ooh. There may be a relationship happening. Talk to me about what's going on, so I'm up to date here.
Toby Haynes from Andor, and also another fan favorite episode of Black Mirror, the USS McAllister, is going to be directing. We also have Seth Grahame-Smith writing. You may remember him from Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Oh, and Zombies. Pride, Prejudice, and I'm like, that's not Jane Austen. And Zombies. Oh, there we are. Okay, and yes.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. You've seen a couple clips of that.
I was going to say that's a you thing.
That's a you thing, and the box thing, too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. All right.
I also liked his adaptation of It, the modern It. But here's the film I know you like from him.
Oh.
You're never going to guess.
I'm still stuck on Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. I'm like, all right, my head's spinning. Talk to me.
Lego Batman movie.
I like that.
I know you do.
Yes, I do. There's an animated movie I liked, yes. And hold on, he's directing it or he's writing it?
He's writing it.
Oh, wow. All right, you're right. I'm pulled in. I think I might like it. Any idea when it's coming out or?
Probably a couple years from now.
Oh, wow. Is there casting or is it just who's gonna write it and direct it and then
here's who's going to write it and direct it.
And then that's it at this point.
Oh, yeah. The idea is to get the wheels turning. And every agent in Hollywood is going to go, slap on your fake ears, boys. It's time to audition for Spock 1.0.
Your Spock ears, yeah. Put your Spock ears on, baby. It's coming. And obviously you're excited. The box, I'm assuming, is probably excited too.
I'm excited because I like Star Trek and I like Star Wars. And it's nice to see both of them creatively push each other to new heights.
Look at the smile on your face. I'm over there going, oh, there's more.
You like the Kelvinverse. Don't give me that.
I know, but I'm like, it's a prequel. It's like in a land far, far, far away. And I'm thinking, well, William Shatner felt like the end of it, but then no, it's not. I remember that. Oh, wow. All right.
Nobody's going to drop a bridge on this one, baby.
Yowza. Do we have any questions from the box?
Looking at the technology in the original series, if this is going to be a prequel, how do you think they're going to do it? Because the technology looked really rough in the original series compared to today. I can't even imagine how this thing's going to look. What do you think?
I think the direction that they went originally in the Kelvinverse that carried over to the series we're seeing now with Strange New Worlds and with Star Trek Discovery, I think we're going to see more of that. It's going to be a little bit more deconstructed, say, Enterprise flair. But I think there is a way we can do it.
I'm thinking box and mirrors. I'm like, they're going to go back to the box and the mirrors and maybe no. And the tinfoil. Box, mirrors, and tinfoil. It's the prequel. No?
No.
Do we have any other questions from the box?
Switching to the Kelvinverse, there's been a large gap between the last movie and when this one will eventually come out. Do you think that's going to be problematic for folks?
I think for people who aren't in my generation, it's going to be a little problematic. It's going to be like, why are we going back this far? Star Trek, though, has a history of going back to things you thought were done and taking a while to kind of catch up to the rest of the universe and where it is now. We still don't even have a Deep Space Nine movie or a Voyager movie. We've been spending all this time in the post-TNG immediate era.
I think that's possible, that it's been a while. However, I think Star Trek and even Star Wars have a way. I don't know what the magic formula is, but they have a way of going back, and maybe it's because they have such a strong fan base, but they tend to go back, and the technology, even though, like the box was saying, the original series is somewhat laughable and kind of cheeky, people love it.
I think it is going to be interesting. I know Anton Yelchin was a high point of the Kelvinverse for us. I know you really liked him.
Correct. And remember, he played Chekhov. Right?
Yeah. They've definitely acknowledged his passing. In the past, they've said they're not going to recast him. They're only just going to mention him. I think the trouble that we might run into is the cast is so much more defined than they were in the original Kelvinverse entries. And even Beyond took a while to come out. I think if you're going to do it, but emphasize how far you've come and also kind of play some of that signature hope that Star Trek's known for.
Thanks for joining us this week. We're always excited to create experiences to bring our cinema community together.
Next week, we're excited to be reviewing Queen Rock Montreal in IMAX.
Ooh, rockumentary.
And on our Movies and More weekly show, the new movie, The ISS.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and to share our channel.
If you enjoyed this show, you might check out last week where we reviewed American Fiction. And on our Movies and More weekly show, we reviewed Migration.
Remember, cinema community movies are better
together.
Thanks for watching. See you in the next review.